Fresh baked by now, you've probably heard that there was a Disney Parks panel at the Star Wars celebrations that was held this past weekend at Florida, at Walt Disney World in Florida. Our own Ian was there. He was in attendance, and I believe you're going to be hearing from him with Laramie. He'll be sharing his thoughts on the panel and everything else he saw at the Star Wars celebration with Laramie during his. He's going to show up on Laramie's trip report this week. But I've got my thoughts as well. A lot of interesting stuff came out of there. Some new images, some new video, and a couple of nuggets that were just dropped kind of offhand in conversation that caught my ear. And I want to share my thoughts with you on those. We're going to start, though, with there's like a 30-second clip that they showed at the end of the panel. But I want to begin there because it's something that's close to my heart. It's their own knothole gang that they did. They took a drone, what I assume was a drone, and flew it around construction. This video the video that we saw, the video that is shown, is about 30 seconds long, and it was filmed, I'm going to say, last Sunday. And by the way, the images that I captured from the videos were shot by Inside the Magic. If you want to see the complete panel, it's about 40 minutes long, I think. Inside the Magic has it on their channel. So this drone footage was great footage. As brief as it was really cool to see it from a whole new angle. Better even, of course, than the footage that we saw from the news chopper last week or two weeks ago, because that was super high. This was more clear, more color, and more. The pictures were crisper. I grabbed a couple images. Let's talk about these. This first shot is what we're assuming to be the Millennium Falcon attraction site, and you can see a better view of those two areas that look like they're symmetrical entrances. I believe they're entrances into the actual attraction, and then you can see a lot of other like just footprints, impressions, the areas that they're beginning to work on. And that's, again, I would like to say or ask the viewers, what do you see? What do you see being done so far in that attraction or in that what they're building? Are you able to discern what kind of structure it is that they're beginning to build? Now, here's a cool shot. This is a shot of the pool. And it's from an angle that we've never seen before. Hopefully we'll get to see it again if they fly another drone down there. But we get to see the actual sort of the depth of the pool. And you can see also that they have closed off that area that used to be open. You'll recall when it was first being dug up that there was sort of like a little inlet, a rectangular section that kind of pushed in deeper. That area looks like it's been closed off. Obviously, since they filmed this, we know also that they've covered it. There's I forget what they call it, but there's an area that's like a layer of metal that's been covered, and they're going to pour concrete over that. Interestingly, and one of the panelists said that he referred to it as a pit, but that it wasn't for swimming. So obviously that's a nod to our knothole gang reports, right? I mean, right? It has to be. And then finally, I like this shot because it was a cool angle. It's the drone is flying around the Battle Escape building around its right and flying into the area that's occupied by the Millennium Falcon attraction. That area is actually kind of the front of the attraction if you're coming in from Frontierland or Fantasyland. But it's a cool view of the sort of, of the depth and scope of the land in relation to other areas of the like Battle Escape. Now, these are the images that were shared. These are going to be, it's one image of the walkers and then a couple of concept art images. The first one, the walkers, this is cool just because, again, I want to show you sort of the scope. We can see that it's big. But it's from far away, up the Mickey and Friends parking structure. When we get this shot is taken on the ground, right by the walkers' feet, it looks like, not far from them anyway. And you can get an idea of how it's 3 stories tall, basically, I think. These walkers are. So that's pretty cool. How this is gonna fit into the show, we don't know yet. But I mean, we're obviously gonna be going through these or around these somehow, and that's got to be impressive as you're going through this attraction. Now, what you're seeing, this object in the middle of this image you're seeing now was described by one of the panelists as being a spare part of a pod racer, and it was being used to heat or to cook whatever food was, like a barbecue. And to me, it looks like something that you find at a Mongolian barbecue. You know how they do it in the round, and they got the guys just, over there, working all the meat and vegetables and everything. That's what it looks like to me. The kind of because there's a kid you can see in the concept art. There's a kid or whatever leaning up on the counter. Looks like he's waiting or for his food or maybe watching his food be prepared. I have a feeling though that this is more for aesthetic and that it's for looks, I guess. that they're not actually going to be preparing your food in this way unless they do go, the Mongolian barbecue route. But that's gotta be hot as heck. That's gonna be hot as heck in there if that's an actual grill. My guess is that the cooking is gonna take place backstage, and that this is all just for effect. A cool effect. I love it. I think it's great, and I hope that it plays well live because it looks pretty cool. Now, this is just a new piece of artwork or concept art that they're showing us. It doesn't really give us any idea in terms of an actual attraction or even a restaurant or shop. But what it does provide us is sort of a look at the level of detail that they're going for, and even just an area that has no purpose really, other than it looks like it's just kind of a walkway into perhaps another area, a restaurant or a shop. And I guess those look like drinking fountains right there, but I'm wondering if the water that you're drinking is being fed from those huge tubes. Whatever that, there's some weird stuff going on in those tubes, those canisters. Obviously, it's just water to us, but I mean, is that what we're supposed to imagine being, served to us? Is whatever's going on in those tubes? All right, so here's another kind of a long shot. This is being shot from what I'm guessing is the frontish of the land, the area that you would see as you enter from Frontierland or Fantasyland, and you can see. I say that because you can see the Falcon there in the next section of the land, and if it's facing us, then that means we're coming in from the east. Is my expectation, knowing what we know of how everything is laid out, and it does kind of give us again an idea of where we are in space. If that's the Falcon, then we can also imagine that the Battle Escape building is right on the other side of those circular buildings. I'm guessing, and that the actual loading area for the attraction is going to be off the frame to the right, and probably behind us a little bit. And finally, this is an image that we've seen before. There's some minor differences between this one and the other one, so I thought I'd share it. And it just gives us kind of an idea of the theming, what they're going for. This looks to be kind of like a bazaar, like a marketplace situation. And you can see there's a droid right there at the lease line of what looks to be like a kind of a fruit market or something. I'm assuming we'll probably be able to get fruit at that location. Kind of like how you have the fruit stand at by next to the Jungle Cruise. I do wonder though at what point the commitment to theming will end in relation to what we're seeing in this concept art. And by that I mean I don't see any TIE fighter bubble guns. You know what I mean? Like I don't see anything on the lease lines like that, because if you go to Star Trader, there's a dude out there shooting bubbles at you with his little TIE fighter gun. By the way, that guy is a muffin, so hello. But in any case, these images, these concept arts don't show us any of that stuff. I don't see any T-shirts. I don't see any books or anything like that you can buy in the shop. It all looks like authentic Star Wars type stuff. So I just wonder, like, are they going to, this the artwork we're seeing is 100% concept, 0% reality, in terms of what's in there, and where's that line? Where are they going to draw that line? Is it going to be 50-50, 40-60, 30-70? I don't know. In most cases, when you walk into a shop at Disneyland, just the facade is, and then up in the, if you look up, like the bookshelves and things like that is where it's themed, but everything on the floor is 100% classic Disney merchandise, not themed. Now, these next three images that I'm going to show you are concept drawings for actual, in the parks, on the ground, characters that you can encounter at Star Wars Land, or whatever they're going to call it. As this is a new planet, to us anyway, there's going to be new destinations, new locations, new characters, and the people that we meet on the ground, I have a feeling, are going to be mostly new. These three guys that we're seeing here. Like this guy here, he's probably a bounty hunter, I'm guessing, or maybe a rebel, I'm not sure. Whereas this one is probably, a more traditional Disney costume with the removable head type thing. It does look like, though, that we're talking about full costume, maybe hair and makeup. At least hair, according to this image. She's got, quite a detailed, do going on there. Now, this image that I'm showing you is from a clip that I found to be perhaps the most interesting part of the panel. It's a stunt workshop where it looks like you've got, she's using a broom to fight off what I think are stormtroopers, but they're dressed in kind of casual clothing, but we're meant to think that they're stormtroopers, and she's fighting them off with a broom. My assumption is that she's a shopkeeper maybe, and then some stormtroopers try to, I don't know, roust her place of business or something like that. Shake her down, as it were. I'm hoping that this is. They don't say if this is on a stage or like a set per se, or if this is happening on the streetmosphere, as they say, as we're walking through the marketplace or the bazaar, that this might happen to us or around us while we're there. Kind of like what you see at Knott's Berry Farm, in the Old West, that Old West street they have, twice a day a gunfight happens right there on the street. So that would be pretty cool. I'm hoping that would go towards the level of immersion that they've been talking about putting us in the scene. And I feel like that likely is the case. This is something that's going to happen on the street. Okay, so now I want to talk about some of the things that they said during the panel, not necessarily showed us in images, or they said alongside the images that I've already shown you. The first thing that they made a point of mentioning was that this is going to be a new world, a new planet. We don't have the name of the planet yet still, but new locations, new characters, new stories. Everything is new. Well, new to us anyway. Pablo Hidalgo made a point of saying that this is a planet, a world that is on the galactic map. Though again, he won't say where, and it's been around for thousands of years, so it's new to us. It's lived in for them. So, but this is the first time we get to experience it. They didn't want us to. They didn't want to put us in a story or into a land like Hoth or Tatooine or something like that, where we kind of already were familiar with how things were going to play out. And I guess there's some good points to that and some bad points to that. But in any case, that is their plan, is for this to be a brand new experience for us. It's to be added into, made a part of the already existing universe. They describe it as being a world that is kind of off the beaten path. Somebody asked if it's the Outer Rim or whatever, and again, Hidalgo wouldn't specify, but off the beaten path. The kind of place that you might go if you don't want to be found. Doug Chang described the world, the land, as being like being on a massive movie set, except 360 degrees, a 3D. Instead of like if you're on a movie set, you see this very well detailed environment that's been crafted for the film down to the last detail. But as soon as you turn around, you can see camera crew and equipment and all that stuff. In this case, we're going to have a high level of detail, movie set levels of detail, but 360 degrees, a complete 3D experience. He also used the term world building, which is a term that I love. One of the reasons why I love Star Wars and why a lot of us do is the fact that the same goes for things like Lord of the Rings or Marvel. These huge universes where every detail, every plant, every creature, has a backstory. There's immersive levels of detail where everywhere you go, there's more to learn, there's more to take on, and that's what that's how he described Star Wars land, and that gives me a lot of hope. I'm really hoping that this is that he's using that term honestly, because if he is and they are planning that level of design, I will be in love with this land positively. So let's talk about the Millennium Falcon. When they described it, they said that the Millennium Falcon isn't just something that you ride passively like you do on Star Tours, for example, but it is, you can fly it. You can fly the Millennium Falcon. Now, I think clearly that doesn't mean everyone, because how many pilots can you have? And there's probably going to be, you got to fit 20, 30, 40 people in each ride iteration. So you got a few pilots and a few people doing, I don't know what else. How does it work on Mission Space, for example? I mean, is everybody doing the same function, or how does that work? Because I've never ridden that attraction. But they said that you will have an impact on the level of, let's say, turbulence that you might feel while flying, and your efforts, your actions will dictate how much damage the Falcon takes on when it lands. Assuming, I guess they're all going to land. Can you imagine a scenario where your piloting brings everybody to their death? Imagine if they put that in there, but of course they didn't. So we're going to land, but how safely are you going to land, and what levels of damage? And I mentioned this because one of the other things that they sort of alluded to was that your actions in the park, in the land, will have consequences. Now, they only said it in relation to this thing, but I have a feeling it goes beyond that. But they said, for example, this is an example they used. Let's say you do crash the Falcon and you cause some damage to the ship. A character might perhaps follow you out of the attraction when you leave into a restaurant next door to chastise you, I suppose, for, causing damage to the Falcon. And then one of the other panelists did a Wookiee impression, which obviously were to infer that it's Chewie that might be chasing you around Star Wars land. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be cool if Chewie followed you into a cantina after your ride on the Millennium Falcon and gave you the what for wrecking the Falcon? That would be pretty cool. They also mentioned that a bounty hunter might come by and ask you for your help, or that you have the option of actually joining the First Order or aligning yourself with the First Order. Your actions have consequences. Even to the point where they said, I think the term that she said is that you can build a reputation in the land. Now, I don't know if they meant that literally, but it's curious that they worded it like that. And actually, if this sounds familiar, this goes towards something that Ian and I had discussed. Ian and I went to the Golden Horseshoe. It was right after a D23, I think. Was it after D23? I don't remember exactly. But we were talking about Legends of Frontierland. And it was, at first we thought that the Legends of Frontierland was a test for something they were going to do in Frontierland. And we're like, why haven't they brought that back? Why haven't they brought that back to Frontierland? That was a fun event. And I had said that wasn't a test for Frontierland. That was a test for Star Wars Land. And that's what we're talking about. When you go to Legends of Frontierland, you remember these guys were always coming out. They want you to, run for mayor, and they want you to do, buy some land, and you could have a shootout with somebody, or you get put in jail. You could earn credits. And they even gave you like a pamphlet, I think, where you had to choose if you were going to be the Rainbow Ridge or whatever I can't remember the other faction. But there was a lot of interactivity going on there, and that's, I think, what we're talking about. That was a test for the kind of things that we can expect at Star Wars Land. The bounty hunters or the First Order, trying to recruit you. We thought Legends of Frontierland was cool. We thought, imagine that all the time, okay? That was just a small event, and we participated. Now, that could happen all the time with increasingly more, I would imagine, more intricate levels of gamesmanship. Because you could still probably just go into Star Wars Land, ride Millennium Falcon, and beat it. And you could just walk by and ignore all the other stuff that's going on. But if you allow yourself to participate in the show that they're putting on for you, you can have an all-day experience inside of Star Wars Land. And I just had a chill. I just got a chill. An all-day experience in Star Wars Land. Just living the Star Wars life. Ugh. All right. I had to stop the camera for a minute so I could kind of imagine what that's going to be like. But okay, so before we go, I want to get into some final things, just small little nuggets that I thought were interesting. They were sort of mentioned offhand, but they piqued my interest. It was said that there will be droids throughout the land, some old, some new, just kind of walking around and exchanging or interacting with guests. They were talking about the AT-ATs inside the Battle Escape building, and somebody had mentioned there are two of them, and he said, I'm not sure how it was put, but he made a point of emphasizing his response and saying those are some of the AT-ATs that will be at Star Wars Land. Real lightsabers, well, real-ish anyway. They were discussing that it was like a no-brainer that if you're going to build a Star Wars Land, you got to build a better lightsaber, because the lightsabers they're selling today are cool, but they don't function. You know what I mean? Like, they turn on, but they're just not as real as a lightsaber could be. And I don't know how real they are going to be, but the host kind of lost his ish a little bit because he had seen one already, or seen the testing maybe, I'm not sure, but he was acting as though this was the coolest thing ever. Now, I don't know if that's usual, exhibit host bluster, because they often are known for their bluster, but I mean, I'm willing to be optimistic about it. And they said finally that more will be revealed at D23, which is going to be happening in just a few months. So I think what we're going to start seeing is more and more data download for us to sort of pique our interest a little bit here, a little bit there, through over the next 2 years, because we still got to wait 2 more years for this bad boy. So we're going to start seeing more art, I'm sure, more story, and maybe some more concept art of the attractions. That would be pretty cool. All right, so there you go, Fresh Baked. Those are our thoughts and our opinions on the images and clips that we're seeing coming out of Star Wars celebrations in Florida. I have to say that it all looks very positive for me. I've got a good feeling about the direction that things are taking. They're saying the right things for me when it comes to, providing us a complete experience, which is something that they haven't necessarily done, in a lot of events or things that they've done leading up to this, with the exception of Cars Land in Buena Vista Street. But some of the other stuff they've done since then has been a little. But anyway, it looks to me like this is lining up for a land that is focused every bit as much on the details, the look and feel of the land, the design of the land, than as is for the attractions. They're not just focused on the attractions, and there's only 2 of them, right? So it makes sense that you gotta fill in all that space between the attractions with an immersive environment, and it looks really positive. I like what I hear so far, and I can't wait for D23 where we get to be there personally to attend. 4 of us will be there. It'll be me, Sarah, Liz, and Ian. We're all going. And we're going to be on this Saturday, the D23, and I can't wait for that event. So until then, Fresh Baked. I hope you enjoyed. We'll see you next time. Bye, guys. Fresh Baked.